Today I'm going to reveal to you the top 3 Oracle decks in my collection of 2024. Somehow we have made it here to the very end of the year, and it always goes by so quickly. It feels just like yesterday that we were in February of 2024 and now we are here in December. Before I jump in, I have a few criteria that I use to define what decks made the cut. Some of these might go hand in hand, but they are: 1. Decks that I used the most throughout the year. 2. Decks that gave me the most enjoyment. 3. Decks that I couldn't stop thinking about or stop using. 1 that I couldn't put down. And 4 is decks that really surprised me. And without any further ado, let me reveal the very first deck on this list. And we have the Mystical Shaman Oracle. What more can I say about this deck? Every time I need to hit the reset button or come back to a home base, I pull out this deck. It is the very first of all the decks, tarot or oracle, in my collection that I ever owned, and for that it has a very special place in my heart. I am connected to this deck differently than any of my other decks, and on top of that, the guidebook is simply just amazing. I can tell that there was a lot of work put into this deck, and it reverberates through. The messages stick around in my brain long after I've done a reading, and that's one of my very most favorite things, is when I come across a deck and I continue thinking about its message throughout the whole day, throughout a couple of days. It could even be like a week or longer that I am thinking about it, but this deck does exactly that. And this deck and I are very comfortable with each other. We have naturally a history with one another, and one that wasn't always the greatest, I'll be honest with you, but we've stuck around. We made it through, and it has to be on this list. And I guess for a quick example here, we'll read a little bit from the guidebook about the Holy Mountain. Just a couple of snippets so you can get the feel if you don't own this deck. So it is number 25. We have a really nice black and white reproduction of the card here, and this guidebook is split up into 3 main sections. First, we have the essence, which is the overall energy and vibe of the card. We then have the invitation, which is more like the upright version. And then we have the medicine, which is positioned as the reversed position. Let's read the invitation piece for the Holy Mountain, just to give you an idea of why I like the guidebook so much. The Holy Mountain invites you to go on a sacred pilgrimage to acquire vision and perspective. First, you must accept the present situation as an opportunity to discover higher understanding. Find a sacred altar where others who came before you have prayed and found wisdom, and make your offering there. Make a commitment to walk with courage, love, and compassion until you see with clarity the perfection of all. And every entry is as such. Beautifully written. I walk away with a lot. That is the Mystical Shaman Oracle in the, I don't want to say number 1 spot, because it's just the first deck on this list, not in any particular order. The next deck is one that you probably might not be surprised to find here, but it is the Earth Magic Oracle cards. This deck is a clear favorite of mine, and I have featured it on my channel many times, and in fact I actually stopped including it in my monthly wrap-ups because it is just to be assumed that this deck has been used alongside the other decks of the month. I was always bringing it out and featuring it, and after a while I just said, just assume that this is a deck that I use each and every month. And the reason I think that is because it goes along with every deck and every combination. This deck has made me cry in a way that has made me feel seen and validated and supported. We get one another so well, and it's definitely a staple in my collection. Not only that, but as I mentioned, I reach for it a ton. And again, I have to go back to what I said for the Mystical Shaman, in that the guidebook is one that I want to live in it. And for those reasons and many more that I could list on and on and on, this is wholeheartedly deserving of a spot on this list. And for some fun here, I'm going to read a little bit of the guidebook for Dawn New Beginnings. And this one, it is in alphabetical order. So in this guidebook, we have talking about dawn and new beginnings. And then the italicized portion here is what I would say is the divinatory meaning or the message that you need to carry. So with that, I'll read a bit of the italicized portion here. When you witness the initial stages of dawn without the benefit of a clock or other timepiece, for a while you may not be able to discern whether the sky is really lightening. The stars remain visible and shadows of the night still shape the landscape. It is that way with any beginning. It is difficult to tell where the old ends and the new begins. Gradually, however, it becomes clear to your senses that the light is definitely increasing, and as you continue to observe, the world slowly wakes up, accompanied by all the sounds, smells, and freshness associated with it. Soon the first glimmer of the sun shows. A new day has begun. Ah, beautiful. And the last deck, number 3 on this list, is not one that I have really featured or talked about a ton on my channel, but it's definitely a deck that's supporting me in the background, and that is the Home Oracle. Again, I have to speak to the power of guidebooks. I know that so many of us are maybe frustrated sometimes by having to bring out a guidebook and read the meanings when all we want is a quick answer, or maybe we're trying to test our intuition and we don't really want to reference the guidebook, but we feel frustrated because we're not getting that intuitive hit or whatever it may be. The guidebook on this, and I'll bring it out here. It is small. It is bilingual. It has 2 languages here, and you can see the entries. They aren't very long. They're pretty compact, but my goodness, are the meanings mighty. The profoundness of the entries of this deck leave me in a state of absolute wonder and awe because of the depth of the meanings, and I truly believe that because it is a translated work and the translator is working so diligently to correctly and accurately convey the meanings from one language to another, there's something about translations that just hit me more in the feelings than my own native language. And this isn't just with Oracle or Tarot, but when I read translated works of fiction, they tend to be my favorite books of the year, of 5 years, of the decade, whatever it may be. But I also adore the artwork. It's quite frilly and quirky, and I could feel myself living in this world. Very unique and light. But honestly, and this seems to be definitely a recurring theme, is that the guidebook makes this a deck that I reach for frequently. I don't have as many Oracle decks as I do Tarot, and this is why this list is a lot smaller than the upcoming top Tarot decks of 2024. Wink, wink, nod, nod. But I wanted to make this, of course, in my own way, more stressful and difficult for myself by picking out my number 1 top Oracle deck of the year from this list. And if I was forced to choose the Oracle of 2024, that award would go to the Earth Magic Oracle. I know that Stephen D. Farmer has a few other decks, but he really hit it out of the park with this particular deck. This deck was a staple in my collection very early on, and I really don't think that I would be where I am in my practice without this deck. While the Mystical Shaman was my very first deck, like ever, it was not as intuitive for me. And as a beginner trying to dip my toe into the world of divination, it was very frustrating to me because I didn't intuitively understand the meanings. As you can see from showing the guidebook, it's quite meaty and hefty, and unless you're super connected and you've studied shamanism, or if you know more about it, maybe those keywords and the images, they might not be intuitive to you. But the Earth Magic swooped in and really saved the day, and it really has been saving the day ever since. You can see that each keyword or title, I guess I would call the all caps here, the title along with the keyword is a great combination. But what's featured is just enough to send you and your intuition in a place that you don't really need the guidebook, but I tell you, reading from the guidebook, amazing, as you could see. And hands down, this is the most used, most enjoyed, couldn't put down, and surprising deck for this year, and perhaps maybe of all time in my collection. Although I know this deck very well, like the back of my hand, it continues to shock me with its accuracy, with its kindness, and with its comfort. It's one that it is home, and I don't know what I would do without this, and especially without this copy, because this is the one that I've had this whole time. It's very, very special to me. And there you have it, my top 3 Oracle decks of 2024, along with the Oracle deck of the year. Did any of my choices surprise you? What Oracle decks made it on your list? I would love to know below. And be on the lookout for the top 5 tarot decks of 2024. And yes, I will also be picking out my number 1 tarot deck of the year in that video as well. Wish me luck. It's going to be really difficult. I haven't even picked out the top 5 yet because I am trying to dwindle the list down from like 15. I've managed to get it to 15. I don't know how I'm going to get it to 5, but enough rambling for today. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, donate a coffee if you feel so inclined, and to which will be directly put right back here into this channel. And until next time, see you around.